Hey, I'm Chris, and this is MMA for You. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC 207. But before I get into that, I'd like to plug a couple things. First will be my author's website at www.chrismoldon.com. The other thing I'd like to plug is my storytelling podcast, Chris's Storytelling Corner, which you can find on PodBean, YouTube, and SoundCloud. If you're interested in in free storytelling readings and manga reviews, links to find those will be provided in the description. Okay, on to this card. My picks weren't so great. I got five of them correct. Um, some of the picks I'm not. The only one I'm not so regretful on too many picks. I didn't think I was like, wow, I was way off with this guy or whatnot, or the analysis was way off. Actually, the analysis was actually pretty good, even for guys that lost. But yeah, and also I thought that Tarek Saffiedine just got totally robbed by Dong Hyun Kim. I totally don't agree with that scorecard whatsoever. That Tim Means fight, it was fun while it lasted, but man, was that decision absolutely incorrect, and I have no idea, how they think it's gonna be correct, the incompetence that was involved in there. To my knowledge, a knee to the ground is a grounded opponent, and that's not going to change in 2017 either. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's one hand down or something. You have to have like two hands down now or something like that for 2017. But the knee down thing has always been against the rules. Alex Oliveira had one knee down. Tim Means admitted it was not accidental. Yet it was ruled an accidental knee, so that was really odd. Um, but anyways, as far as the bonuses go, Nunes and Garcia earned performance of the night, while Garbrandt versus Cruz took home fight of the night. Let's just get started. Amanda Nunes defeated Ronda Rousey via TKO in the first round, 48 seconds. Man, did Ronda look terrible in this fight? I mean, just absolutely dreadful. Um, Everyone comments on Edmund Tarverdian, and if you've listened to me talk about Edmund Tarverdian, I shared the sentiments and the criticism. I agree with the criticisms towards Tarverdian. He's a boxing coach that tries to teach MMA fighters boxing, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of the fighters that have been to Tarverdians don't look like they have good boxing. It's very odd. Ronda Rousey, Travis Brown, Jake Allenberger, Jessamine Duke, Shayna Baszler, Marina Shafir. Those are the notable ones. Some of the problems: this oddly wide stance, hand placement, lack of distancing, no head movement, no sense of defense. And this is all very consistent with guys who have trained with Tarverdian. There's just nothing of value with him. As far as training boxing, I don't know why people train with him, under him. It seems very, um, it seems like fighters regress under him. And I gotta say, Ronda looked like she was fighting underwater this whole fight. Um, it was, she was just there to get hit. I don't know what she could have necessarily done differently. Outside of running at Nunes and trying to get the clinch. Nunes has she's actually taller than Ronda and has some really long arms, so it's going to be really hard to do. And Nunes throws long strikes and was throwing long strikes all day at Ronda. So I don't know if Ronda would be able to get the clinch. But, but Ronda just looks so bad here. And there's so much to talk about in regards to this because it's like the poster for this event is like she's back. There was no promo. The promo commercials were all about Ronda Rousey, none with Nunes. Um, Ronda had that media blackout, which I thought may have helped her. She looked shredded during the weigh-ins. Um, what does this mean for? I know this is gonna sound strange, but I kind of wonder if this has any bearing to women's featherweight now. I'm actually a bit curious to know if one of the plans was hoping that Ronda Rousey wins and then maybe she moves up to featherweight. I just don't see women's featherweight. So I don't see the appeal of that weight division as it is without Chris Cyborg. And I gotta wonder if Ronda Rousey is just going to leave the sport entirely. I'll say this though. I don't know if she's going to get the movie roles that she's used to getting because, I would imagine that Hollywood kind of wants winners. She's not a great actress. I guess she can play a good female bodyguard or something like that, but, and she was in Expendables, I suppose, but, otherwise, yeah, I don't know what this does for her, and the way she took that loss mentally against home. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not exaggerating here. I gotta wonder if Ronda's gonna enter some sort of depression. Uh, wasn't she even talking about suicide or something at one point? Um, after the loss to home. I mean, wow. You know, this was a terrible performance from her. She looked like an absolute beginner. Nunes looked great. She got the big win over the biggest name in her resume, and she successfully defended the UFC Women's Bantamweight title. So that's good too, because that's a title that that was changing hands from Rousey to Holm to Tate to Nunes. So we'll see what happens with Nunes. I mean, the only real logical next fight for Nunes, unless you want to do like Raquel Pennington or something like that. Excuse me. But next logical fight for Nunes is the winner Pena versus Shevchenko. I'll say this right now. If Pena wins, I can't really see her beating Nunes, honestly. She doesn't have the striking. She bull rushes tremendously. And Shevchenko, though, is a different story because she went 3 rounds with Amanda Nunes and actually won round 3 against her. So that's a very interesting fight, Shevchenko versus Nunes. I hope we get to see that. Next fight after that, Cody Garbrandt defeated Dominic Cruz by unanimous decision. Wow, wow, wow. Did not I in the previews I actually said Garbrandt has a power, he's a good boxer, and I actually said he had good footwork. Boxing footwork. What I mean by boxing footwork is he doesn't make good boxing footwork, besides like the pivots and whatnot, are a lot of small moves. You're moving just slightly out of the way, slightly in the pocket, in the pockets, you're in, you're out, but you're not making like a big stride per se, unless you're doing like some like duck under like pivot or something like that. And I noticed Garbrandt was doing some of that. Did he just fight a great fight against Cruz? He let Cruz come to him. If you notice this fight, Garbrandt almost never chases Cruz. So when he was winning the exchanges in the first round, it was all on. Most of them were just on counters. This is where being a fighter that isn't particularly dangerous is going to hurt you. Because the thing with Dominic Cruz is he's actually he was a dominant champion in the sense that he's held the title and has been undefeated for a long time, but he was never like he never had that like true sense of invincibility. Like he had a lot of close fights, the Dillashaw fight, the second Faber fight. He is a guy that loses rounds. Um, and for all of Cruz being like such an intelligent fighter, they're like he. I want to actually say he fights unintelligently almost, in the sense of just how off balance he gets. Because if you look at the fourth round, okay, the way that your legs also work when you get hit is they also act as something of shocks. So if you get hit, you know, and your legs are underneath you and behind you, your legs will actually take a lot of shock. But Cruz moves around so much, he's never on balance. So when there was like at least one of them where I don't know, well, he got hit hard, but then his feet weren't underneath him. So yes, he's going to get dropped. I mean, that's the thing. If your feet are not underneath you and you get hit clean, you're going to just get dropped. Good recovery from Cruz, and Cruz did well. I thought Cruz took the second and fifth round, where Garbrandt took 1, 3, and 4. One other thing that Garbrandt did was just clowned Cruz, man. There was that time, dude, he was just slipping and ducking like 5, 6 punch combination and just started popping. Seriously, he would just dance. I mean, he drops him and points and laughs at him. I mean, it was just like, man, it's so funny because like I'll say it right now. I thought that Cruz got in Garbrandt's head. He wants a build up to this fight. It's like, oh yeah, Cruz is totally in his head, and then it's like, nah, I guess it was all an act because Garbrandt. I really think during the fight, Garbrandt got into Cruz's head. Um, there's so much to like from Garbrandt's performance here. Just good counter striking. I guess I'll call it subtle footwork because, like I said, if you saw the way he was moving, like it didn't seem like he was moving much, but he was actually like, small step forward, small step back, just out of range, just in pocket, out of the pocket. The head movement was really good too. Not chasing Cruz. Actually got some takedowns on him. Good takedown defense. Yeah, there's just, I think they find one other thing too is that if you're a champion and you're going to have a lot of footage out there of you, and eventually someone just figures it out. I mean, we've seen this in MMA time and time again. Someone just, some team and some fighter will just have the tools, just figure out how to fight that style. And like, yeah, Garbrandt just right guy. The team had so much footage on Cruz. They trained for Cruz, and Team Alpha Male finally beat Cruz. Like that's the thing. Um, Good one for Garbrandt. Uh, you know, he's still a prospect. The weird thing is, it's like he's a champion. He's an 11-0, 20 some odd year, 20 some all, in his 20s, has only been fighting for, like not that long. He's already a champion, but he's still in that like prospect range where like he might not even be at his prime per se. That's the weird thing. Um, uh, but there's some great challenges for him too. That's the other cool thing too, because the way bantamweight has been shaping out lately, you've kind of got some new fighters in the mix. Jimmy Rivera, Lineker got in there. Rob Font's coming up. Tomas Almeida, who already lost to Garbrandt. Aljamain Sterling. Yeah, you got some fighters that are coming up in this division. And then you already have this really cool ready-made fight here. Garbrandt versus Dillashaw. I mean, they have to do that next. There's a story there. They used to be training partners. Dillashaw was a former bantamweight champion. He looked great against Lineker. He's on a 2-fight win streak. Before that, beat a Sun Chow. There's a ready-made story right here. It's a good fight. It just, everything comes together really well with Garbrandt versus Dillashaw. Honest truth, like, like, who's next? What, Caraway? Jimmy Rivera? I would argue that Dillashaw's wins over Lineker and a Sun Chow are worth more than what anyone else has done so far. So, yeah, I want to see Garbrandt versus Dillashaw next. Cruz can get like a Sun Chow, maybe Caraway next or something like that. If you want to go Jimmy Rivera, I guess you can. Cruz, Tomas Almeida would be cool too. So, next one after that, TJ Dillashaw defeated John Lineker by unanimous decision. 30-26 is across the board. This fight really exposed John Lineker because as good as he is, there's areas of the game where he's just not very good. His stand-up, he's never been the most technical guy, but standing, he's always been relatively accurate, hits hard, hits the body, hits the head. His takedown defense has actually shown to be pretty good. But man, did TJ Dillashaw, was he hitting that same takedown too? It was really nice takedown. Me and my buddies, I was actually watching it with some of my jiu-jitsu buddies, and we were actually like, he's wrapping his right leg around Dillashaw or Lineker's lead leg and then taking him down. Like, it's not just a traditional power double, So, so the takedowns and timing from Dillashaw were great. The ground and pound was really good too. Lineker's got I mentioned the chin of Lineker. It's almost a cheat code because like he was taking flush elbows and ground and pound from Dillashaw and trying to get back to his feet. The problem with Lineker is the way he was trying to get back to his feet was all power and like no technique, and he really showed just how rudimentary actually his game is from the bottom and just how untechnical his game is once he's kind of put on his back. Standing, I mean, I thought Dillashaw did good with the kicks and keeping distance. Once he was able to take Lineker down, he's able to just keep him down. Lineker's a really good fighter. It's just that Dillashaw was just a class above. I mean, easily. That was a master's class, really, against a really good fighter who's been coming up. Dillashaw versus Garbrandt's got to happen next. I really want to see that fight. Lineker can get like a Sun Chow, Rivera, Caraway, Tomas Almeida would be cool. Even though some of these guys are coming off wins, it'd still be cool. I'd like to see Tomas Almeida versus Lineker. I think that'd be neat. Next one after that, Dong Hyun Kim defeated Tarek Saffiedine by a split decision. I thought that Saffiedine got robbed. These scorecards are really weird. I don't know how a guy can give Saffiedine a 30-27 and the rest give him like 29-28. It's like these guys are watching two different fights. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Dong Hyun Kim was punching a lot of air. He was able to hold. He wasn't even able to successfully hold Saffiedine up against the cage for extended periods of time. And then standing, I mean, Kim. The only thing Kim was doing was pushing forward more, but he was not. This was not like uh, effective offense. There's nothing effective about what he was doing. He was missing punches and getting like countered a lot of times and getting hit clean. And then when he tried to take Saffiedine down or get him against the cage, Saffiedine would defend and peel himself off the cage. You know, I mean, Saffiedine kind of has some blame here because he just doesn't throw a lot. Um, but for the most part, yeah, I don't agree with this decision whatsoever. You know, it just, um, I thought that's some pretty bad judging there. I don't, I get what they saw in the sense that Kim's always moving forward. Saffiedine isn't doing enough, you know, in a sense. But yeah, it's pretty sad because that was actually one of Tarek's better performances. And actually, it's sad because it looked like Tarek kind of learned from the Rick Story loss of like, oh hey, I can't just keep my, I can, even though I'm defending takedowns like against a cage against like Rick Story, he was just keeping his back up against the cage and just defending. When he fought Kim here, you'll notice that he's peeling his back off from the cage at all times. He wouldn't stay in that position for extended periods of time. It was also cool that Saffiedine was able to take Kim down. You know, he's a judoka a couple times himself. So, you know, it's kind of sad. It's like, what are you training for? You know, it's like, I'm training and I'm improving and I showed it, and yet incompetence doesn't, you know, in a sense, like you're rewarded with loss in a sense. That, you know, you probably should have won. Um, yeah, man, I never realized how just bad. I mean, Dong Kim has really crappy striking technique. He hits hard, but man, his technique's terrible. I just never realized how bad it was until this fight, you know. Um, but also Saffiedine too. This will always be his weakness because, like, you know, he's should probably be the rightful winner here, but like in a sense, he's also his own worst enemy. You know, just because of the way he fights. Um, yeah, both of them are actually ranked. I don't really know who they should fight next. Maybe go with that Gunnar Nelson fight for Kim. Saffiedine. Just give him some mid-tier guys at this point, really. Next fight after that, Ray Borg defeated Louis Smolka by unanimous decision. This is interesting because, like, Rogan was talking about Borg being 3 pounds heavier, and that could have played a factor. I'm not gonna lie, it could. But I gotta say this, like, the biggest problem with Louis Smolka is why I thought Borg would win, because Smolka's takedown defense isn't that good. He expects to be the better scrambler in, like, all of his fights, and he's not a heavy-handed enough guy standing to really be that threatening standing. So Borg was just a better wrestler. He actually managed to out-scramble Smolka and showed to be just a better wrestler. He can always go back to the... He can always take Smolka down. And then he can always stay on top of Smolka as well. So it was a great performance by Ray Borg. Smolka actually plays into Borg's style very well. Just in the sense that Smolka's not going to get subbed. but he's going to stay on the bottom and work from the bottom. And Borg's more than happy to oblige that, to be on top and stay on top and scramble and out scramble to get on top or stay on top. Um, so, nonetheless, great performance from Borg. He has had problems making this weight before, but like, hopefully he can manage that better because I think flyweight's actually not the worst place for him to be. Really, I think he'd be pretty undersized at 135. So with that said, Borg should probably get like Brandon Moreno next. Maybe a rematch with Ortiz. Smolka at this point. I think should 2-fight losing streak, man. You know, some like mid-tier fighters of the division. Okay, on to FS1 prelims. Neil Magny defeated Johnny Hendricks by a unanimous decision. That round one was pretty close. I gotta say though, Neil Magny being kind of like this jack of all trades, master of none, and actually having kind of subpar takedown defense. Um, he was, I wouldn't say lucky to get the win, but man, it was pretty, it was really close. And talk about a guy that regressed in Johnny Hendricks, man. Does he not, he can't like kick anymore. Um, you know, he was always, he always kind of looped his punches kind of sloppily, but like, I don't know, man. It looks even more sloppy now than ever. It looks like, I mean, he only has like one combination, right hand and left hand, you know? Or just throw the left hand. The wrestling from Hendricks was great. I thought he was great. Um, Magny did not. You know, it's one thing Magny did not do was like push down the head. He did not fish for underhooks. Um, to try to defend the takedown. You know, it just like there were certain things that and maybe I'm missing something, but just like it looked like improper takedown defense. Granted, he's fighting a guy like Johnny Hendricks whose wrestling is that good. Johnny Hendricks clearly took round two. Round one was close. That triangle at the end, and the triangle chokes really did work so well for Magny here because, you know, even though he wasn't able to lock into choke, he was able to get those elbows and whatnot. And at the very end of the rounds, so that just looks good in the eyes of judges. Standing, I thought Magny just did a little more. You know, I thought Hendricks was the better wrestler. Magny was the better like jiu-jitsu practitioner. The thing with Magny is that, like I said, he's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, and he's really tall, and he's a workhorse. You know, he is a very workman-like fighter. So he's always gonna just hang around that top 10. Well, he got a good win here, you know, but you know, like Lorenz Larkin just took his lunch. He's just he's a better striker and a more dynamic striker. Because Magny's not heavy-handed, nor is he a dynamic fighter. He's just very good, and he's kind of just like maximized his gifts to the best of his abilities. It's just fine. Hey, I like Neil Magny, man. he's man. I was on this like huge and like Neil Magny fights. I was on this crazy streak of like picking his fights correctly, you know. And he is one of those type of guys that'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. Short notice and whatnot. He's solid. You know, he has good wins too. Johnny Hendricks, Kevin Gastelum. You know, like yeah, he actually has some pretty decent wins under his belt. Lombard, you know. With that said, maybe get like Dong Hyun Kim next. That'd be cool. Um, who else? Gunnar Nelson would be cool. I'd like to see Magny versus Condit. I want this fight that's intriguing, you know? Johnny Hendricks, man, you know what? Man, he doesn't look like you know, Kelvin Gastelum's like this too. He just doesn't look like a 185er. You know, he's gonna be a shorter fighter, but Hendricks on this like losing streak, bad losing streak. He keeps missing weight for 170. Like to see him fight at 185. See what he can do there. See if his cardio issues improve. But he is also talking about retirement, so I don't know what happens to Johnny Hendricks next. If he stays in the UFC, I'd like to see him just take a fight against like a mid-level guy at 185. See how he feels, get his confidence back, and see if he can't start anew at 185. Even though he's gonna be undersized, because dude, the guys who fought before him, like Carlos Jr. and Vettori, are ginormous for this weight class for 185. Um, yeah, yeah, but we'll see what happens with Hendricks. So at that, Antonio Carlos Jr. defeated Marvin Vettori by unanimous decision. I picked Vettori here, but and Carlos Jr. ended up winning. Uh, but I gotta say it was a case of like Carlos Jr. just kind of did just a little more than Vettori. Um, Carlos Jr. was trying to go for takedowns. Actually, got a takedown, but Vettori would get back to his feet a lot of times. But he was just a lot more times. He was just more of the aggressor. Man, when Vettori was able to get him down, though, man, in that second round and just pound him out, I mean, that was probably some of the most like significant offense of the fight right there. Uh, I'll say this right now too. Despite the fact that Vettori lost, I think out of these two guys, I really do think he has more of the upside here. His takedown defense looks sharp. I mean, his takedown defense looks really good. His ability to get back to his feet when he's taken down was really good. And while Vettori needs some work on the striking technique, he's aggressive. Um, he's just going to get better. I'm actually pretty high on Vettori. Coach Jr. is a very good prospect. I can see him being a top 10 guy. His jiu-jitsu is really good. He is ginormous for this weight class. His ability to take the back in this weight class is unlike most fighters in this weight class. I can't really think of. I mean, maybe some of the top guys like Rockhold, um, Jacare, of course. But not too many other guys have this like really strong propensity to take the back like Carlos Jr. does. Wasn't able to do that here though. Really, I mean, Vittori's defense was just too good. But this was nonetheless a good win for Carlos Jr. He really worked for it too, so that was good. Both guys should just get more like lower to mid tier guys in the division. Next round after that, Alex Garcia defeated Mike Pyle by knockout in the first round. Pyle's got to retire. I mean, he just keeps getting knocked out. Even when he fights a guy like Sean Spencer, who's not known to be particularly heavy-handed, he got dropped. And this was a bad knockout. I mean, this was like he was knocked out from the punch, and the way the back of his head hit the mat, that was really hard and violent. It was really bad for Pyle's brain. Pyle has to really think about retirement. I'll say this about Alex Garcia right now, and he looked less muscular to me, but nonetheless, he looked good. I mean, he knocked out Pyle, and I said this in the preview, and I agree with it here. Like, Mike Pyle just can't take a power punch anymore. If he gets hit clean with like one power punch, I mean, he'll either like just freeze up or like just kind of react badly, or in this case just get knocked out. You know, good win for Garcia. He's needed it. Um, maybe there's some potential for him yet. He was actually. I still gotta wonder if he's still the guy that's strong in the first round, but then sucks in the rest of the rounds or not. You know, we'll find out. It's more like lower to mid tier guys for Alex Garcia. As far as that, Nico Price defeated Brandon Thatch by arm triangle in the first round. You know, I said it in the predictions, and I knew it was here. Brandon Thatch, it's like, man, how disappointing is this guy? You know, I mean, because like he is huge for the weight class. He's been fighting for a while. He trains out of Elevation Fight Team, and he has like a really bad game off his back. I mean, he makes white belt mistakes. You know, the way he like butterflied and the way he carried his opponent to half guard. I mean, yeah, we'll see that, but like I've seen like white belts make that mistake. You know, it's getting the Kimura from half guard on the bottom, but then letting go of that half guard so that Nico Price can get like side mount. That was kind of a rookie mistake. You know, I mean, his just inability to get back to his feet when he's taken down is just kind of a rookie mistake. Like, it's yeah, you know, it's just a lot of these like weird rookie mistakes that Brandon Thatch has been making, and he's not a rookie though. You know, on the ground, it's I don't know why his takedown defense isn't that great, and his ability off his back just isn't good. Like his awareness off his back just isn't very good. I expect him to get cut after this. He's a guy, if he fights in the regionals, he's a guy that should probably consider fighting at 185. I think he'd be better suited to that weight class. He would not be small for the weight class. He's 6'2" and just huge. Nico Price, though, I don't know what to really say here because, like, I didn't really see like improved striking from Nico Price here, from what I saw from like some of his regional fights. He's still kind of raw. He can grapple. He out grappled a bad MMA grappler. Um, but he got the much needed win, and he's still a prospect, so maybe we'll see some improvement from him. It's more lower to mid-tier guys division for him. And on the Fight Pass prelims, Tim Means versus Alex Oliveira was ruled a no contest due to an accidental knee. First of all, that knee was not accidental. I believe Tim Means was actually confirming that, like apologizing for those knees. Two, the rule change hasn't happened for downed opponents. Downed opponents has always been like if you're on one knee, that is a downed opponent. um, and unless I'm wrong, unless I'm missing something, and the other thing is, even with the rule change that's going to happen in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think the rule change is like one knee down still means you're a grounded opponent. So it's really weird. I'll say this though, the way the fight was going, it was actually pretty entertaining. Alex Oliveira, for all his like physical gifts, I mean he still muscle things a lot. He managed it Means pretty good at one exchange, but for the most part Means was just really busting him up pretty good. He even got his own takedown on Oliveira. I don't know if Means was on his way to win, but per se, but the way the fight was going, I thought that Means was having the upper hand up until that point. I don't know if these guys will rematch each other or whatnot, but just more like mid-level fighters for both. Okay, so that's pretty much it for my post analysis for UFC 207. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And please check out my author's website at www.chrismoldon.com or my storytelling podcast, Chris's Storytelling Corner at PodBean, YouTube, or SoundCloud. So, that's pretty much it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.